Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Primetime News. We have a lot of interesting things to go over this week, including some important eBay updates. We have a story of a postal worker attacked by a flock of wild turkeys. So wait until you see how that one turned out. And we also have an 80-cent thrift store item that was flipped into a $20,000 sale. So you're definitely going to want to be on the lookout for that item. And then we've got other interesting stories too. But before we get into all of that, I've got to start off with what the thumbnail of this video is about: resellers attacked. So, resellers attacked refers to people who go out to do some type of in person reselling exchange, such as through Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or OfferUp. And the next thing they know, they find themselves the victim of an armed robbery or some type of violent outcome. And so, I've been covering this topic for years. Not only here on my YouTube channel, one of my earliest videos is called How Not to Get Killed on Craigslist, and also in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, where I've been sharing safety tips over time and little stories here and there about these types of meetups that go wrong. But recently, I have noticed an increase, and it's not just local, it's also national. And that does correspond to a national increase in gun violence and gun crimes. Let me share with you some examples of things that have happened recently in just my general area where I source and a place where I go and do meetups. All right, so in our first story here, two teens rob a man during a Facebook marketplace sale on the southwest side of Syracuse. Now, if you're not from Syracuse, you might not know that the south side of Syracuse is considered the most dangerous. That's where the highest crime rate is. So you definitely need to know your region and what cities you're thinking of going to make any type of deal, and stay out of areas that are known for high crime. I have been contacted many times by people to go out to the south side of Syracuse, and I absolutely refuse to do it. My safety and your safety definitely comes number one. Now, the second thing you'll notice here, this guy was trying to sell a PlayStation parts and its components at 12:39 in the morning. That's when the deal was supposed to go down. You don't want to go out that late at night. Crime tends to happen more during the nighttime hours under the cover of darkness. So you generally want to be in a well lit area. The other thing is that this person was trying to sell to teenagers. Now, generally, you want to stay away from making deals with just kids. Sure, there could be a kid involved if there's a parent, but if there's just kids involved, that could go wrong for so many possible reasons, including what happened here. These kids were found with drugs on them. They could have had some gang involvement. If there's no parental supervision involved, things could go wrong really, really fast. So I don't want to come across as victim blaming in this situation or in others, because ultimately it's the teens who are responsible for what happened. But at the same time, as the person who is going out to try to make the deal with people, you have to make sure you're putting yourself in safer situations. So, what would an example be of a safer situation? Well, many times we talk about the safest would probably be meeting up at a police station, or some cities have designated safe spots where you could go to, where there's video surveillance and they're designated just for this type of purpose. But another example, and something I've mentioned in the past as well, is going somewhere that's a public place during daytime where there's a lot of people around and it's a well lit area, or maybe it's inside, like, for example, a mall. And in the area of Syracuse, New York, our big mall is called Destiny USA. And I'll show you an example of some bad situations that happened there just this week. All right, so as you can see here, gunshots fired at Destiny USA, mall closed. This was just this past week. And this had to do with another reselling deal. Someone was trying to sell something to someone that they met online. Now, it was at 6:45 p.m. at nighttime, but it was inside the mall. So it was well lit. There were lots of people around. One of the bullets went through one of the windows. I know people who were at the store where the bullet went through the window, and they described being absolutely petrified and terrified from this whole experience. So you would think that a mall area would be a safer place to meet. And, you might say something about the nighttime meetup, like maybe that contributed to this somewhat. But let me show you something that happened right in the middle of broad daylight at the same mall. So, all of you college basketball fans and fellow New Yorkers know this man very well. Jim Boeheim, the longtime Hall of Fame basketball coach for Syracuse University. Standing right next to him there is his wife, Julie Boeheim. She's also very well known in the region because she's a very public face at the games. And also, she's involved in a lot of charities and community events. So she's always in the news. And she was parked outside of the Cheesecake Factory at this same mall in the middle of the day, 2 o'clock. And all of a sudden, she hears a knock on the window. She looks over, she sees a 12-year-old boy. So she's probably thinking, oh, this is someone who recognizes me, wants to say hello through the team or maybe through one of her charity events. So she rolls down the window, and the next thing you know, she has a gun pointed at her face. As part of an armed robbery, her purse was stolen. Now, it turns out that the gun wasn't real, but at the time that she had this gun pointed at her at a split second, she does not know that, of course. And most of us probably wouldn't recognize that. And you'd be very, very scared. Now, it turns out that there were some adults that were involved in setting this whole thing up and sending the kid over to do this, presumably under the notion that, if the kid got caught, there wouldn't be as severe consequences compared to if they would have done it. So you're seeing an alarming increase, by the way, in teenagers and even kids younger than teenagers, like this kid, involved in these types of incidents. So while this was not a reselling incident, it still goes to show that there's just an increase in the boldness and brazenness of these types of attacks. And you need to be aware of that as a reseller who is going out in the community if you're thinking of doing any of these private meetups. You also have to be aware of this type of news because if you're seeing increased national or local trends, you may need to modify what your approach was previously. So I used to go and do my meetups at this same mall. Not all of them, but a lot of them I did outside the Dick's Sporting Goods area, which isn't actually too far away from where this incident happened. And I'm not doing that anymore because now, with me noticing that this particular mall has had an increase in these types of events, it just doesn't make any sense for me to do that. So I'm probably going to shift more towards police stations and areas like that, safe spots, safe zones, those types of things. The problem, though, is I don't think there really is any 100% safe area because I could actually see a situation one day where someone just doesn't even care. And even at a police station, the way things are going, they might still try to commit a robbery at the police station. But it is having an effect on resellers. I mean, I could even tell you from my wife, Mrs. Primetime, she literally sent me a message after all this stuff went down. She literally said, I'm done with Facebook Marketplace. She's not comfortable going anywhere for meetups just because of this increased trend that we've noticed, again, not only locally, but nationally as well. I don't share the national stories every single week because it just gets repetitive, but I have seen an increase and there is a national trend in gun violence that you need to be aware of. So let me know what your comments are down below in terms of this problem in general, what your approach is with meetups. Have you seen increases in these types of crimes in your local area? Please keep this is not meant to be political when I say an increase in gun violence. So I don't want any comments about like Republicans, Democrats, that type of stuff. But if you want to make just a broader comment about things in society, that's fine. I just want to keep the politics out of the channel. All right. So in our next primetime crime story, you're going to see someone dressed up as a FedEx worker going up to people's porches and stealing their packages. The big giveaway for that this is a fake FedEx worker is you will never see a FedEx worker move this fast in your entire life. Let me show you what happens here on camera.
These thieves are getting more creative, finding ways to steal your stuff. Not one.
Look how fast. Look how fast. Look at that.
3 homeowners in the Westtown area say the man seen on their Ring cameras is stealing packages from porches along West Ohio Street. Each time, his MO is the same. The suspected thief, wearing a face mask, walks up to a front porch wearing a Navy FedEx vest with a box in hand. He quickly drops that one, which is empty, and swipes the new package off the porch and takes off. His Trailblazer SUV left running outside.
It's like, is any neighborhood in this city safe?
So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a good reason to have neighborhood watches. It's not just, by the way, FedEx workers. There are people doing this dressed up, as it shows later in the video, as a DHL worker. And I'm sure there's people also doing it as USPS as well. So definitely be on the lookout. If you see someone moving this fast as a delivery person in your neighborhood, there might be something off with that. So definitely give it a second look. In addition, this is another good reason not to resell USPS gear and FedEx outfits and stuff. They actually have their own places, the workers, where they could go buy replacements and stuff like that. They don't need to buy that kind of stuff on eBay. And actually, eBay prohibits, for example, selling USPS clothing, anything that could impersonate a federal worker like that. Here's another story, again with the theft. I mean, that's a common theme that's going through a lot of these types of things, theft in all sorts of different ways that are related to something in the reselling community. In this instance, we've got a thrift shop. And I'm going to show you a little clip here of someone hiding the security camera so that they don't get caught stealing the 50-foot American flag that was on top of it. But I want to mention this for anybody out there who's watching this who is even thinking of committing such a theft, is that you might think that it's just a 50-foot American flag, but to somebody else, like the Navy veteran who owned it, it means a hell of a lot more.
Around 3:30 Monday morning, this man appeared on camera. He looks around, covers his head, and moments later, moves the camera.
Over here is where you'll see his white shoes.
It's disheartening, to say the least. Darla DeLeon owns the shop along with her husband, who's a Navy veteran. She says he purchased the flag, and it meant a lot to him.
He said, my flag is gone. He said, my flag that's flying up on my flagpole is gone. I said, yes, it's gone. And he just started crying. He's like, why? Why would somebody do that?
Very sad. Hopefully they could find this flag back and get it back where it belongs. All right, now this has to be the craziest story of the week. It's a postal worker who has actually been stalked for months by these wild, aggressive turkeys. They literally have been attacking his postal truck and then going after him as he's trying to deliver the mail. And if you've never seen wild turkeys before, you might not understand how big they are and how scary it would be to be attacked by one of them. So let me show you a little clip to show you what this guy is dealing with. And ultimately, the results here did not turn out too well for the turkey.
Welcome back. Now to a deadly confrontation with a wild turkey as a Sacramento postal carrier is forced to beat that big bird until it died. Yeah, this is a crazy story. Video of some of the aggressive turkeys in the Arden Arcade area, Morse and Creekside to be exact. You see them next to the postal truck. Both the post office and Fish and Wildlife say this has been an ongoing problem with the same carrier being attacked for months now. Monday, fearing for his safety, he used a club from his truck to beat it to death. Fish and Wildlife officials tell us it was a last resort.
They deployed pepper spray. They used their mailbags to swing at the turkeys, and they kicked the turkeys that were coming in to attack them, and nothing was working.
And that was going on since October. So we're talking about 5 months later. Officials call this an unusual case, but they say turkey mating season likely led to the birds becoming way more confrontational and aggressive.
I'm sorry, I was laughing, but when he said beat that big bird, I feel bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't ever want to hear of an animal. I love animals. I don't want to ever hear of any animal getting beat to death. But, you know, it was interesting because I was thinking about that and I was like, man, like, what would I do in that situation if I had these? Let me know what you would do if you had these wild turkeys stalking you and like attacking you as you're trying to deliver your mail. Because I was walking into work the next day and I was in this a garage, and there's this pigeon above me. And the next thing I know, this pigeon starts flying towards me. And we're talking about, you know, a small pigeon compared to a turkey. And I'm like, I was like freaked out. I'm like, if this pigeon starts attacking me, like this pigeon's going down. Like, it's scary when you got this winged creature with a beak flying at you. I mean, it's just creepy. So I can't even imagine what it would be like to have a flock of wild turkeys coming after you. Crazy, the type of stuff that postal workers do to deliver the mail to us. I don't even think we know the half of it. Now, speaking of USPS, some major positive, important news to report in that the Senate has finally passed sweeping bipartisan legislation to overhaul the United States Postal Service. This has long been needed since the bill was passed in 2006, which was one of the worst laws of all time that required the Postal Service to pre fund retiree healthcare benefits 75 years into the future. What organization does something like that? Pretty much none. It really put the post office behind. They lost hundreds of thousands of workers. They operated in the red since 2007 as a result of this because they're funded differently from different governmental agencies, and they basically have to fund things based on the income that they bring in during the fiscal year, and it just wasn't sufficient to cover all of those massive costs. So no longer will this pre-funding requirement be there, and the postal workers will be moved over to Medicare. Also, one of the things that comes out of this bill is that there's going to be national and regional delivery times that are posted online so people can get a better sense of how long it's taking, so people will be able to track things better, supposedly through this new system. But overall, the bill is supposed to save the post office $100 billion over 10 years. So while there's not anything in it specifically that does anything to increase performance, just based on the massive amount of money that is supposed to be saved through all of this, that should help to increase the number of workers, which should help to increase the performance metric. Now, eBay also made some big announcements this week, including the debut of something they call the digital wallet. Now, it's not out yet, but it will be coming soon, according to them. And what it basically means is that when you make a sale on eBay, you will have that money readily available to you digitally within eBay to draw from to then make other purchases on the platform. So it's sort of like having a PayPal balance yet available within eBay. I think that's cool. I like that. So I will give eBay credit on that one for sure. I think it's a smart business decision too, because it keeps people on the platform. They don't have to go off the platform to get their money. And I think it would increase the chances that people will purchase things on the site with that digital wallet. Now, they also announced something that sounds more confusing, which is called eBay Vault. So let me describe to you what they say about it, and let me know in the comments what you think this is going to turn into. But it says in the second quarter of 2022, eBay will open the eBay Vault, a 31,000 square foot secure storage facility and digital marketplace for trading cards and collectibles, with plans to expand into luxury goods. Ownership can transfer from seller to buyer in a matter of seconds without the need to re authenticate, repackage, or ship the item anywhere. So it doesn't look like, from what this is described as something where you'll send any type of item in. It looks like it's for trading cards, collectibles, and also these high-end expensive items. So eBay will basically host the storage of those items there, and then if someone wants to purchase it, it would just immediately get shipped out from there. Sort of like it sounds like an Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon. Now, would you trust eBay holding on to all those luxury items, like a $10,000 watch or a multi-thousand-dollar handbag or something? Like, personally, I wouldn't. I would want to have possession of that. I wouldn't want this just sitting in some warehouse somewhere, especially with all the glitches that eBay's had over the years. I just wouldn't trust it, but let me know what your thoughts are. Now, eBay also announced that they are going to make it easier for people to find your stores. I'm 100% behind that. Anything that they're going to do to make it easier for buyers to find our items without us having to pay some extra promotional fee, I'm fully behind it. Let me show you what this is supposed to look like. This is going to be on all of the view item pages. So you're going to see your store name and the logo. And you're also going to see some information about your store. Some of this has already been implemented, such as the number of followers that you have, your percentage of positive feedback, and the number of items sold. I like how they have a visit store tab as opposed to a door there, because a lot of buyers don't know that the door symbolizes that's where you're supposed to click to see the store. So it's more obvious. They'll have a contact button that's really prominent there. And I really like this feature to the right, which says popular categories from this store. So it takes the categories that you sell the most from and increases the chances that someone's going to click on it and explore and see what you have. And, maybe that translates into a sale. And if they just want to see all of them, all the categories, they just click that button there. All right, now let me show you a couple things to do to prevent yourself getting in trouble with relation to eBay. One of which would include if you posted any items that could be interpreted as expressing support for Russian President Vladimir Putin. eBay is not going to allow that. They're going to start removing those items. If they remove something like that, even if you don't think that it supported Putin or if it wasn't your intent, if they remove it, don't put it back up. That's the worst thing you could do, because then you could get a suspension and ultimately you could even get banned. So it's just not worth it. Also, if you're a video gamer, there is a game called Elden Ring. I've played this game before. I even have one of the game books. There's something in the game called runes that help you in playing the game. And basically, what's going on is there are sellers trying to sell these runes to other players that could then help them advance in the game. The thing is, though, is that it's not just so simple as someone presses a button and they get all these runes. You basically have to send the person your character information. You have to log in with them at the same time to exchange the runes. The other problem is that it is expressly at odds with the terms of service from the game manufacturer. So they explicitly say you can't do something like this. And so if they find out that you did do something like this, I'm not sure exactly how I would track it, but if they found out, you could get banned from the game. I haven't heard anything about people getting banned from eBay for doing it, but you definitely could get banned from the game. So if you're a gamer, you're thinking about doing this, don't. And the Salvation Army was in the news this week. Many of you sourced there at their thrift shops. Some of you refused to source there because of what is noted in this lawsuit. It's not the first time they've faced a lawsuit like this, but they have been sued in federal court by the states of New York, where I live, Illinois, and Georgia for not paying their workers the federal minimum wage that they are required to pay them. They're required to pay them at this point $7.25 an hour, but this lawsuit alleges that they're only paying them sometimes like a few bucks an hour to work there. Now, they are supposed to get other benefits from working at Salvation Army, involvement in programs and access to food and shelter sometimes and things like that. But this is a problem if they are not getting paid what they are supposed to be paid hourly per the law. So I'm not sure what the end result of this is going to be, but I'll, of course, follow it for you and let you know. And it might be something you want to take into consideration when you're deciding where you want to source from. A quick update regarding Amazon for those who use their multi-channel fulfillment program. This is different than FBA. FBA is when sellers send items into Amazon's warehouse and then their items get ordered by customers and shipped out from there. These fees don't apply to that. That's what's most commonly used. Multi-channel fulfillment is when you have some other kind of platform that you use to sell stuff from, and you're actually sourcing the items from Amazon from that other channel. So Amazon is increasing fees related to those sales. So if you participate in that, make sure that you log in to check out what the new rates are. Now, I told you that I'm going to continue to monitor how the invasion of Ukraine from Russia affects anything related to reselling. And the main update this week actually involved McDonald's shutting down their restaurants in Russia. Well, what happened as a result of that? You saw people go out and start hoarding items from McDonald's and reselling them on Russian resale platforms. There was a 40-fold increase in prices, similar to what you'd see in a black market condition. Here you could see people storing all sorts of like hamburgers and chicken sandwiches and whatever kind of menu items they have in Russia. Here you could see someone just trying to sell a Coca-Cola. It's just crazy what happens sometimes, when places get shut down. All right, now about that 80-cent thrift store item that was sold for $20,000. That's our inspirational story of the week. If this person found it, you could find it too. It is none other than a first edition Harry Potter book. Those are still out there, folks. This is amazing. Let me show you a little clip from this story.
Potter fans, how much would you shell out for a first edition copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone?
£15,500. Going. Sold!
One of only 500 produced, this rare book was just sold for £15,500, or almost $20,000. A lot of dough for a book first bought for 50 pence or 80 cents at a thrift store. The inside had some doodling, but overall, the book was in great condition. Another similar and even nicer first edition copy sold at the same auction. This version was in pristine condition and brought in £69,000. That's over 90,000 US bucks.
Wow, what an incredible sale. That is absolutely amazing. I hope you enjoyed all the stories this week. Let me know what your favorite ones were down below. Importantly, everyone, make sure you stay safe out there, consistent with the theme of the video this week. And I'll see you back at the next one, everyone. Take care.